like nothing else I had ever been on before, and with stunts and with a press tour. I'd never done anything like that before, certainly, and it was really overwhelming, and how excited everyone got when the movie came out, and our premiere was like the biggest premiere I'd ever been to, and all the stuff surrounding kind of like the hype of the movie was an extreme in every way.
Another outcome of Spider-Man was an intense romance with co-star Tobey Maguire. Apparently, the kiss she planted on Spider-Man's lips was real, though it didn't show in the shot. But a relationship was sparked, and the two of them dated for about a year. Now, Kirsten remains tight-lipped about that romance in any interview. She refuses completely to discuss it, though she does say how the film affected other parts of her life.
It helped my career because now I can, get small movies made from foreign financiers, and it's not a risk to put me in their movie. I can pretty much be in a big movie and lead it So all of that helped because, you're more well-known everywhere.
As a direct result of her talent, visibility and growing audience draw, she landed a pivotal part opposite Julia Roberts in the period drama Mona Lisa Smile. The film is a story about early feminist rumblings in the 1950s, and Kirsten really admired the way Julia Roberts used her power and influence in Hollywood to push this female-dominated film all the way through to completion.
Yes, of course. I mean, she's like probably the most powerful woman in this industry, and she uses her power to be good to people, and I have a great respect for her and the way she handles herself. I have the problem of not understanding my power. She knows her power and she doesn't flaunt it, and she has it, but I don't really I know that I have power in this industry, but I haven't really figured out that I haven't really felt it yet in my gut, I have to grow into that, I guess.
Kirsten was headed in the right direction. The young actress is sensitive to the importance of her role choices and their influence, but one problem continues to be outside of her control.
There are a lot of good roles for women, and so it's up to you. For women who are real people, it's usually the girlfriend who's this fantasy hot girl who, it's just really silly roles usually for girls. But now I think smarter roles are coming along, and not even just more human, the guys always have pretty human roles, but the girls, I don't know, something gets lost there.
Not only are the roles few and far between, the impossible standard of beauty is wearing, even on a knockout like Kirsten.
We still have an incredible focus on being thin and looking a certain way, and I think that, all the emphasis on breast operations and putting plastic things in your body, and it's just another type of girdle for women nowadays. And there are other lives we're living with, but I think that now we all have choices as women, and I have a choice to speak my mind, and I won't be, disregarded for it, and as long as I'm accepted creatively as a woman and as a force in this industry, and as I get more power, I can use it for the good and maybe help others, that's what I want to do.
There are enormous pressures on young women in the entertainment industry to maintain a certain look that is often very unrealistic and not matching to what real women look like. And hopefully, when someone can find another person who really loves her for who she is, then some of these pressures might dissipate.
When we come back, Kirsten finds strength with a new Hollywood flame.
Kirsten was thrilled when her Mona Lisa Smile co-star Maggie Gyllenhaal introduced her to her 23-year-old brother, Jake. The two hit it off immediately. To recover for her very amicable breakup with Tobey Maguire, Kirsten was thrilled when her Mona Lisa Smile co-star Maggie Gyllenhaal introduced her to her 23-year-old brother, Jake. The two hit it off immediately. Much like Tobey Maguire, Jake is known for playing intense, dark, moody characters in art house films, something Kirsten clearly respects. The two actors have dated, sometimes on and off, ever since. They even exchanged promise rings. Jake wears his on his little finger, while Kirsten wears hers on a chain around her neck. Their love is even sealed in celluloid. When the blonde beauty visited boyfriend Jake while he was working on the set of the 2004 disaster film The Day After Tomorrow, she agreed to appear in a brief, uncredited cameo. With a real grown-up love in her life and now a lot of experience behind her, she chose her next role with a great deal of confidence. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind with Jim Carrey, Kate Winslet and Mark Ruffalo.
It's angry and it's funny and it's, sad. It's everything kind of that love is and relationships are, and they're not simple, and it shows all of those things. I would think sometimes, is this going to be funny, this scene, or sad, or whatever? And then I was like, well, that means it must be going well, because, you can't really place it anywhere. And so I think that, Michelle gave us a lot of freedom, and I felt like, we were able to give really good performances because of that.
On this film, which was, of course, an independent, she had to get used to a very different level of accommodation than the luxuries she'd got used to on the bigger budget films like Spider-Man.
Oh, it's way different. I mean, our dolly track is somebody in a wheelchair being pulled back with the camera in their hand, so it's much more, you have to be much more crafty because you don't have the money or the time. And for me, it helps with my performance because you keep the momentum going, and so a lot of, Spider-Man, you sit around and wait a lot. It's like really long scenes, but and you get treated a lot differently too. Bigger trailers, everything is different. But it's fun to go from one different atmosphere to another. I like it.
And even more importantly, especially now with the influence of Jake Gyllenhaal, the movie satisfied Kirsten's growing desire to play meaningful characters.
There's truthful characters in that, and I think that you just have to find it or create it for yourself, and that's okay too. It's, it makes things more interesting.
Thanks to the weighty roles that she'd had since Spider-Man 1 and her passionate relationship with Jake, Kirsten brought a really fresh intensity and dynamism to the sequel, Spider-Man 2. Now, there were some troubles before the film actually started shooting because it looked like Tobey Maguire wouldn't be able to take part in the film because of back injuries. And at one point, there was even talk of Jake Gyllenhaal doing the role instead because the two actors looked pretty similar. But Tobey was back on board, they were all together, and the new film, Spider-Man 2, managed, unlike most sequels, to have even more strength and dynamism than the first.
I mean, for me, I felt a lot better during this movie because I was just more confident in myself and in my acting, and I was just more secure doing this film, and so it just made for me to be even more collaborative with Sam and be more respected as an equal in this movie.
Kirsten was really happy that her character Mary Jane evolved to become much less of a victim in this film than the previous one.
No, I'm not being as dropped or as much in this one. In this one, I'm, being grabbed by tentacles, but at least I'm not dropping, free falling in this one, and there's not as much screaming either in this one.
And there's more in-depth development to the character in this one, which interestingly parallels some of the experiences that Kirsten herself was going through.
Well, I mean, I think we're both, going through a time in your life where you're becoming a woman and you're dealing with, a lot of different feelings. And she's just on a wrong track with a lot of guys she's dating. Luckily, she got out of where she was living and she was strong enough to move to New York by herself and pursue her acting career, even though she covers herself a lot. She's very insecure, and I can understand, that feeling, but I have more support around me than she did. I mean, Peter's the only man that I think she was very vulnerable with and confided in.
Spider-Man 2 was a colossal hit, largely regarded as superior to its blockbuster predecessor. Kirsten followed that huge success by expanding her repertoire in the romantic comedy Wimbledon. The versatile actress played a rising star in the professional tennis world and love interest opposite Paul Bettany. The young actress has long been aware of the difficulties of growing up in the spotlight.
I mean, it's definitely not easy, you know, in terms of relationships with family, and you know, now it's like I'm in control and everything's changing, and you know, it's hard for everybody around you kind of to change with you always, and so it doesn't make it very easy, but you know, I wouldn't take it back, but you know, it definitely has led to you know, a different, you know, I'm not a normal 21-year-old, that's for sure.
With her mother Inez, the gorgeous blonde has opened her own production company called Wooden Spoon, named after her grandmother's favorite instrument of discipline. Kirsten has long had in mind roles other than just acting.
Oh, I'd love to direct and write, yeah.
When preparing for her role in writer-director Cameron Crowe's Elizabethtown, Kirsten put her directing dreams aside to focus on her character.
A lot of me is definitely this girl, and I think when you feel the most free in what you're doing is when you are being the most honest with yourself. So it kind of like feeds, you know, feeds each other, I think. She was just such a great character because she's like not self-deprecating at all. She's very positive all the time, and she's really just there to help the other person.
By keeping her boyfriend a priority, her family by her side, and her feet firmly planted on the ground, Kirsten is able to weather and navigate the volatile Hollywood storms. Kirsten's roles in front of and behind the camera will continue to expand as her faithful audience continues to watch her grow up and evolve before our eyes up on the silver screen.